Wealthy individual outwardly looks with disdain upon the respect enjoyed by a poor person, believing that he deserves to be the recipient of such admiration. Fear and love of authority. Also, the envious man is fearful of some hindrance on the part of the person enjoying an advantage or talent or merit that may frustrate his cherished objectives. Such fear manifests itself when one's acquiring or preserving authority over others requires that nobody should share his advantages or merits. For example, one who wishes to be re-elected as the leader of an organization may desire that no other member step forward and exhibit leadership skills such as eloquence of speech and efficiency of organization and mobilization. Viciousness of nature. A human being of vicious nature does not like to see others enjoying any kind of good whatsoever. Such a person always greets news of another's good fortune, for example, in education or business, with sarcasm, pessimism, and ridicule, or with other unethical tactics or conduct. The evil effects of hasad. Envy is one of the deadliest diseases of the heart, and it produces additional vices such as hypocrisy, backbiting, slandering, abuse, taunting, and torturing, all of which are grave sins. This hideous condition makes the human heart so narrow and gloomy that its effects pervade the realm of one's inner and outer being. The fears and grief of the Hasid revolve around the person of whom he is envious. The hasad he harbors in his heart blinds him to the virtues of the envied, and he becomes unhappy over the blessings of God conferred upon the hasad. The spiritual light and the divine spark of faith, which makes the human heart greater than anything else in the world, cannot go along with the darkness and narrowness caused in it by hasad. The heart becomes grieved and depressed, the chest narrow and suffocated, and the face grim and frowning. The more this state gains in strength, the more it diminishes the brightness of faith, while this faith is the source of his salvation in the hereafter and the life and vigor of his heart. Eventually this disease reduces the Hasid into a helpless wretch. The Prophet Muhammad said, "Beware, do not bear enmity with the blessings of Allah." When asked about the people who bear enmity with the blessings of Allah, he replied, "Those who are envious." Al-Tazali, Sharnaj al-Balagha, Volume 1, p. 315. Imam Ali said, "Envy is a great trap of Satan." Al-Amati, Gurar al-Hakam wa Durar al-Kalam. Hadith No. 1133. Imam Ali said, "A Hasid is a sick person though he may physically appear to be healthy." Gurar, Hadith No. 1963. Muhammad ibn Muslim reports that Al-Imam al-Bakir said, "A man may be forgiven for something done in a fit of anger, but hasad devours faith as fire consumes wood." Al-Kulaini, Usul al-Kafi, Volume 2, p. 306, Bab al-Hasad, Hadith No. 1. Imam Far al-Sadiq is reported to have said, "Satan says to his soldiers, instill hasad and disobedience of Allah among them Bani Adam, as these are equal to shirk polytheism in the eyes of Allah." Al-Kulaini, Usul al-Kafi, Volume 2, p. 327, Bab al-Baghi, Hadith No. 2. Imam Far al-Sadiq said that Luqman said to his son, "There are three signs of a Hasid. 1. He is a backbiter at the back. 2. He is a flatterer in front. And 3. He is happy when a misfortune befalls the envied." Al-Saduq, Al-Kaisal, page 121, Hadith No. 113. The cure for this disease. If you suffer from this deadly disease, seriously contemplate the enormity of its devastating effects on your faith. Consider taking following steps to purge it from your heart. Know that your envy doesn't harm your hasad, nor does it make him lose any of his favors and merits. You shall ever suffer in grief, pain, and anguish while the hasad is in a state of bliss and joy. In the hereafter as well your envy will benefit your hasad, especially if it results in backbiting or slandering, as your good deeds will be assigned to the hasad. Force yourself to be affectionate with the hasad. The aim of your kindness should be to cure yourself of envy. Your inner self will ask you to ill-treat or hurt him, but you must act against these inclinations and be friendly to him. You must respect him and gradually convince your heart to respect him. Try to see his virtues yourself and think that these are favors of Allah on him. Force yourself to speak in his praise and make his good qualities known to others. Though your behavior will be unnatural in The beginning, since your aim is self-rectification, it will gradually become less artificial. Inshallah, day by day this will become a reality and your heart will follow your tongue to appreciate his virtues and good qualities. You should convince yourself and make it understand that your Masid is a creature of God, perhaps. It is God's grace that he has selected him for the advantages and blessings he enjoys that you do not currently possess. If, God forbid, the object of your envy is a scholar endowed with knowledge or piety, you must understand that he is from the chosen ones of God, blessed by great merit. Try to generate love and humbleness towards him. At any stage during your treatment, don't think that this moral vice is not curable. This erroneous notion is inspired by Satan and the lower self al-Nafs al-Amara, who want to frustrate your efforts of curing yourself. Have hope in God Almighty who has promised that he will guide those who struggle and help, who are mukhlis sincere ones. God Almighty has invited his servants towards himself by indicating that they should purify their souls from other than God and make them turn exclusively towards him. Mukhlisin are those who worship God in such a way that they don't see themselves in service nor do they take notice of the world or its people, thus they and their actions totally belong to Lord. Thus their state of worship is the deen that God Almighty has chosen for himself and cleared it from the taint of association with other than God, and he has said, Lo, to God belongs sincere allegiance al-Din. Al-Khalis. 39. 3. It has been narrated from the great Gnostic al-Shaykh al-Muhaqiq Muhyi al-Din ibn al-Arabi that he said, Lo, to God belongs sincere allegiance, free from the taints of otherness and egoism. And that your extinction in him should be total, the essence, the attributes, the acts and the din should cease to be relevant for you. Lo, until the allegiance is not purified by reality, it will not belong to God. The worship of the sincere ones is the imprint of the manifestations tajalliyat of the beloved God and nothing passes through their hearts except the essence of the one God. Ikhlas is subsequent to action. One must exercise vigilance as it sometimes happens that man carries out an action faultlessly without any shortcoming and performs it without riyah, showing off or ujb self-love, but after the action he becomes afflicted with riyah, through mentioning it to others, as pointed out in the following noble hadith. Imam al-Bakir said, perseverance in an action is more difficult than the act itself. He was asked, what is meant by perseverance in action? He replied, a man does some kindness to a relative or expends something for the sake of God, who is one and has no partner. Thereupon the reward of a good deed performed secretly is written for him. Later, he mentions it to someone and that which was written earlier is wiped out and instead the reward of a good deed performed openly is written for him. Later, when he makes a mention of it again, the vice of riyah, showing off, is written for him instead of the reward written earlier. Al-Kalani al-Kafi, Kitab al-Iman wa al-Kufr, Bab al-Riyah, Hadith number 16. The reality of action is intention. It is the sincere intention and pure purpose on which depend the perfection or defectiveness of ibadat worships and thus their validity or invalidity. Spiritual traits constitute the soul's primary character and intentions, to which actions are subservient, making up its secondary character. And as long as self-love remains in the heart and a person remains in the oppressive habitat of the self, he is not a wayfarer toward God musafir ila Allah. Rather, he is one of those who cling to the earth mukhaladan ila al-ard. Shirk in ibadah, that encompasses all its levels, is the inclusion of the good pleasure and satisfaction of anyone other than God, whether it is one's own self or someone else. If it is for someone else's satisfaction and for people, it is outward shirk and fiqhi riyah. If it is for one's own satisfaction rida, it is hidden and inward shirk. In view of the Urafa, Gnostics, this also invalidates the ibadah and makes it unacceptable to God. Examples of it are offering the nightly prayer tahajjud for increase in one's livelihood, or giving zakat for increase in one's wealth. Although those ibadat are valid, and one who performs them is considered to have performed his duty and fulfilled the requirements of the Sharia, they do not amount to the sincere worship of God Almighty, nor are they characterized with sincerity of intention and purity of purpose. Rather, this kind of ibadat